Good morning, and welcome to Mosaic Unitarian Universalist Congregation, where we are transforming lives and also church services online today through service, generosity, respectful relationships. What's the other one? Let's see, compassion, service, generosity, and respectful relationships. My name is Tracy, and I am doing the best I can here to put together a virtual service for us for this Sunday morning. As you all know, we're living in an interesting situation, and so we're just kind of making this up as we go a little bit, and we appreciate your patience and your engagement, and we are glad that you are choosing to spend a little bit of time listening to what I have to say this morning. And rest assured that at Mosaic we are doing what we can to make the best of the situation, and we look forward to a time when we can get together in person again. Again, my name is Tracy, and I am your worship leader, presenter, technological guru, and everything else today as we put together a little bit of an online service for you called Going Viral. You should have seen the slides that we put together, and also in the comments below, there is some additional information, including a link to a playlist of some songs that we hope will be encouraging and just upbeat and kind of making the best of the situation. So with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share with you the sermon that I've written this morning called Going Viral. Remember when you were little and you'd wake up in the middle of the night from a bad dream, and if you were fortunate enough to have a compassionate parent or other supportive older person in your life, they would respond to your crying and hold you close until you felt safe again? This is kind of like that. We're all feeling like it's the middle of the night, except the dream is real and the CDC says we're not supposed to touch each other. So instead of the minutes that seemed like hours between when you woke up and when you calmed down, it's the days that seem like weeks and no comforting cuddle from mom. Before we can respond to this, we need to recognize it. All human emotion ultimately distills down to two fundamental states of being, love and fear. They exist in opposition to each other, yin and yang, dark and light. And for many, if not most of us right now, fear is the proverbial wolf we are feeding. I don't think any of us are feeding fear intentionally, except maybe some of the more irresponsible media outlets. But like the candy aisle at your favorite convenience store, there is just so much junk in brightly colored wrappers competing for our attention, promising to satiate some primal need for instant gratification. We almost can't help ourselves. Add the fact that we're supposed to be self-isolating at home with schools and workplaces closed, cooped up with frustrated kids and not enough information about what's really going on or when any of this will end. And we find ourselves craving any form of connection or news, no matter how tenuous, unreliable, or sensationalized. Not only that, but we are UUs. For the most part, we are overeducated, hopelessly analytical, compulsive thinkers with a firm belief in the power of human intellect and resilience to adapt and overcome. Of course, in a situation like this, those traits can make our craving for data even bigger obstacle to maintaining our sanity as we watch world leaders flounder and agencies respond at the speed of government, inch by inch, toward a state of preparedness that they should have achieved 3 months ago. And one of the most reliable sources of infection rate data is a website created by a 17-year-old boy back in December as a hobby project. We are also Mosaicans. We have devoted ourselves to transforming lives through compassion, service, generosity, and respectful relationships. Our compassion, especially, creates layers of heartache over this whole mess. First, we watched racism turn its ugly head toward the people of China as though their nationality somehow made them responsible for getting sick. Then we saw world leaders dismiss the situation as a hoax or an isolated problem not serious enough to acknowledge with policies or plans. Then we heard people say it wasn't a problem because the virus is only fatal for old people and those with poor immune function, as though somehow those people didn't matter enough to protect. And then it escalated in Iran and Italy, and we heard about military-style field hospitals, mass graves, and whole countries going on lockdown. We're feeling deep pain, in sympathy not just with the sick, but with everyone faced with the consequences of our collective failure to care enough about humanity to build social safety nets and make plans to respond to the possibility of an event like this. The part of each of us that feels a connection to all of humanity feels like we have failed, even though as individuals, we have been doing the very best we could do to make the world a better place in whatever way we felt called to do, not just in the last few weeks, but for years. Are you miserable yet? Okay, let's take a step back. My point is not to drag us even deeper into this quagmire, only to put into words the nature of it and how it makes us feel. Again, until we know what we're dealing with, it's hard to formulate an appropriate response. But I think we're there. This is the State of the Union. We are frustrated. We're sad. We're afraid. But if there are at root only two states of being, love and fear, then the antidote to this fear must be love. And so, as UUs, it is our sacred duty to wrap our heads and our hearts around what it looks like to be in a state of love right now, and more importantly, what love should do. Unitarian Universalism posits that what matters are deeds, not creeds. We embrace all beliefs with respect, but we judge people by their actions. And this makes perfect sense because our highest aspiration is to live in a state of love, and love is a verb. So what does love do when its most familiar expressions, touches and hugs, are off the table? Perhaps it could be helpful to consider Gary Chapman's 5 love languages and how they play out for a UU, or really for anyone, looking for ways to survive, thrive, serve, and love their way through this. The 5 love languages Chapman defines are words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, quality time, and physical touch. The good news is there's only one of those 5 that we can't pursue and express during a pandemic. The others are absolutely available to us, and because the last one is missing, the first 4 become enormously more important. We'll go in the order I listed them and start with words of affirmation. Your telephone and your email are lifelines right now. Who do you know who is even more isolated than you are? Who do you know who lives alone? Call them, email them, send them a handwritten note or a cheery greeting card. Try one of those companies that does e-cards, the fun, often animated greetings that you can send by email. Or even better yet, shore up your video calling skills. Apple and Google make this pretty easy with a cell phone or a tablet or a computer that has a camera. Just because you can't be face-to-face doesn't mean you can't see other people's faces. All of those technologies that used to be just for geeks and high-power multinational corporations are about to become essential tools of everyday life for all of us. Use every tool at your disposal to make and to maintain connections. And when you connect, include words of affirmation. Go beyond keeping the conversation positive and upbeat. That's necessary, but not sufficient. Tell your friends you love them. Tell them you miss them. Talk about what you like about them and how they make your life better. When people feel afraid, they need validation. Providing it is a concrete action that expresses love. So what about acts of service? Opportunities abound. Do you have neighbors who are older or immunosuppressed who shouldn't be going out? Offer to pick up their groceries or run another errand for them. Order from your favorite locally owned restaurant for delivery or carryout and tip generously. Remember that the economic impact of this situation is devastating for small businesses. Order gift cards from shops and restaurants you normally frequent so they have some cash flow while things are slow. If you know kids who are home from school, provide some supplies or even just plant the idea for them to send cards to nursing homes or hospitals or deployed soldiers. Volunteer to walk a dog at the local shelter. Remember that pets don't get COVID-19. Use the donate button on Mosaic's website to give whatever you would have put into the plate in person today. Closing up shop is hurting us too. Acts of service are the ways we help each other when the going gets tough, and they provide another way for us to stay connected to each other. Giving and receiving gifts is another love language. Who do you know who's having a birthday this spring? Were you invited to a wedding or a baby shower or another life event that had to be canceled or postponed? The only thing worse than being isolated and feeling fearful is having a high point of your life brought low by those things. If you know somebody who would be celebrating soon but can't, or at least can't the way they were planning on because of this, consider sending them a little something special, even if you normally wouldn't. Many stores are closed, but their online counterparts are offering discounts and free shipping to attract your business. Again, the economic impact of this situation is devastating. Giving a gift right now is an act of love that not only supports the recipient, but supports all the people between them and you as well. Lastly, quality time is a way of expressing love that is critically important when we can't be in close contact. For this kind of love, let's think about both the challenges of a bunch of people together and the challenges of people living alone. You may be trapped in your house with your family right now, day in and day out, seeing far more of each other than you normally do. This may create tension and conflict when everybody is already feeling on edge. Just because you're all under one roof, or even in the same room, doesn't mean you're spending quality time together. So what could you be doing together that would be fun? Do you like movies, board games, crafts, or hobbies? Maybe there's something you would have fun learning together, like a new language. Look at websites like Coursera or MOOC.org to explore online courses you could take individually or together. You could all study the same subject, or you could take different classes and make time together to share what you're learning. And get outside. Sunshine and fresh air are proven boosters of both immunity and mood. A walk around the block or a visit to a nearby park or a trail are low-risk ways of getting out of the house and enjoying some quality time together. Be sure, too, to give each other some space. Taking time alone to recharge is critically important, especially for the introverts in your family. Be gentle with each other. Remember that everyone around you is in the same fragile state, so be kinder than you need to be. If you're living alone, quality time comes back to those all-important calls and video chats. Keep in touch with your family members and friends. Check up on people, and make sure that people know you welcome them checking up on you. Ask them how they're doing and really listen to their answers. Make sure they're talking not just about their physical well-being, but their emotional and mental state as well. Make sure you have someone you can talk to about whatever's on your mind. This is a perfect time to implement a buddy system. Talk with one or two other solo folks you know, and make a plan to talk every week or even every couple of days. Maybe even talk through what to do if you call and don't get an answer for more than a day. Let's hope for the best, but let's also make sure that when things go wrong, we get people the care they need quickly. As a final point, I'd like to remind us all that love has to start in your own heart. Please remember to take good care of yourself right now. One of the wisest things I ever heard was from my friend Chris Sopa, who regularly affirms her right to set boundaries by saying, "I cannot give what I do not have." We can only serve others if we ourselves are strong enough in body and spirit to do so. This situation has forced all of us to slow down, to clear the calendar, and to spend time alone. These are things many of us desperately crave and rarely get in our normal lives. So let's appreciate the opportunity to create this creates to nurture ourselves. Read a trashy novel, binge watch a bad soap opera, take a hot bath, try a new recipe, fix that thing in your house that's been pissing you off for a year. Declutter a desk drawer, go for a long walk, start a journal, try the video game that your kids normally play way too much of. Take an online yoga class, or just sit and breathe. Love yourself, and then love each other in any way you safely can. If something has to go viral, let it be love. Blessed be.